Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video, Persona 5X. In today's video guys, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about the man Yusuke, seeing that he is arriving in just 2 whole days. This is going to be an interesting topic here because I do know of course some of you guys are still going to be summoning, and although I do say not to summon on this guy, I will say this: he's a really good asset on at least launch for global, seeing that a lot of things are going to be catered to at least his ice defensive capabilities. Though in the future he does a little fall off a little bit, he comes back every now and again with a sprinkle of some other teammates, so who knows, you might be able to utilize him a little bit more, but only time will tell because I do know he's getting a buff very soon. But if you guys are interested in the video, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy, and as always hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot here. We're trucking on to 14k here, and today I might actually end up at least advertising a a giveaway very soon on the community page. Either it should be later on today or either tomorrow morning, in which I feel like a lot of you guys are going to appreciate this one. This is kind of my gift back to all of you guys for supporting the channel as much as possible here, because we've been doing really good besides the I want to say 2 freaking drama videos I did, so do apologize about that one, but I still stand my ground on my opinions. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and continue with the video and just go on. Now when it comes down to the man Yusuke, the one thing I have to say here is he's really not a bad unit. He's a good unit himself. Just as stated before, the devs kind of did him dirty. The guy is based, instead of off of attack, is based on defense. The higher defense you do have on him, the better he's going to end up performing, and that's really how it's just going to be. My Yusuke stats, at least on TW, aren't the best, mainly because I kind of stopped building the guy, and it was just after noticing that he doesn't really get as much love as he should be. Though this character on global launch, as I did say, is going to be fairly darn good, so we're going to go ahead and break down everything you need to know, immediately going from at least the actual awareness A0, well A0 and A1, and then going down immediately to more of the card set. Everything inside this video you will be knowing, and I will be updating his build guide very soon, so look forward to that as well. But starting off with the awarenesses here, one of the few things I do have to say about Yusuke is he's a really good character. The only issue that comes down with this guy is quite literally his awarenesses are kind of weird. The only one that's worth investing into is the A1, and to be honest, the A1 I feel like should be part of his A0 kit. It more or less does help out his counterattacks, and which does help him out quite a lot when you're actually looking into other things. But A0 itself, Dragon Dance, is actually allowing you to have a 65% chance to actually trigger Dragon Dance counter. Now this counter itself does deal a decent bit of damage, being a 66% of defense damage here, and it is equal to ice damage, which is nice. It also counts as a follow-up attack, which is pretty darn decent, especially when you have follow-up attack teams. The only downside to it is the percentage of it is pretty nice, but it's not the best that you need. If you really want to go ahead and survive and actually deal a ton more damage here, I feel like this percentage needs to be a little bit buffed. Unfortunately, on the TW side and KR side, we haven't seen a buff of this guy for quite some time, so I think this is just going to be how it's going to be on global. It's not really the worst things here, but in long term or just long future type wise, I would like to say this character is definitely going to fizzle out later on. But who knows, his buff might help him. The thing that I feel like that's a little bit weird with this guy is definitely the A1 though, seeing that the A1 is really where a lot of people are going to want to stop. After you go ahead and use his enhanced counter, which is called Jinka Zanshin, this will then allow you to actually utilize it twice. And geez, excuse me, I coughed for a quick second. This will allow you to use it twice. So instead of it being used once within that turn, you can now use it twice and actually get yourself an additional Dragon's Roar off of this, and that does 70% counter damage. Now, it may sound pretty nice, but if you think about it here, yes, we're getting to use our counter twice, and then we get an extra one that does 70% less damage, or at least 70% damage itself. It's kind of weird because for this character himself, his counters are really everything he needs. And with how he's doing today, this is definitely something that feels like it should be more or less in his base kit. In fact, I feel like the A1 itself needs to boost more of his multipliers and make him a lot stronger, especially seeing how he is. But this is definitely going to be one of the in-depth A1s, or at least awarenesses, that you really want to invest into, especially if you're going to be a Yusuke mainer. The character himself will need this actual awareness, and I will say it makes his gameplay way better And seeing I don't have it, it definitely will show you guys how really bad this guy can really be. But all in all, those are just his awarenesses that you got to look out for, it being the A1. Now when it comes down to the skills here, the skills is where you really want to pay attention to. There's going to be about 2 skills that you're really utilizing, of course not counting the highlight itself, but 2 skills that you're going to utilize. Skill break being the first skill is not going to be one that you use too often. The only reason for it is because it doesn't really help you out too much. It can inflict freeze, which is pretty dang nice, but if we're talking about what at least Yusuke himself does deal and how much this move deals, it's not really worth it, because at max upgrade it's about like 72 I think percent damage here, and which is nice for ice damage, but is a very low percentage. He already doesn't deal the best damage, so this skill 1 does not deal him any justice. As for the skill 2, although this one is still a little bit of a low multiplier, being at 90.2, I think at max is like 92.9% here. It increases at least your ice damage that you're dealing, and if you have a shield on it, can allow you to increase your skill damage even more so by 30%. So this multiplier more or less is dealing a lot more damage. Though do keep in mind, it still does need a little bit of a buff. If you do think about it here, here's the bad part about this skill, or at least the second skill itself. That's gonna more or less come down to at least every time you hit the same enemy, it will decrease your skill damage by 60%. This is not a good thing. It does kind of suck because all the extra hits are randomized on each foe, so you do have to take into account that this can be a little bit of a bad idea. It decreases it by 60%, but every time it can go up this maximum amount by 20%. So if you happen to be the unlucky soul to hit the same enemy multiple times, that decreased damage is really going to stack up and hurt your overall damage with Yusuke. Kind of one of the few things that's a little bit weird with his actual kit itself, but still decent skill, and a lot of you guys are going to want to invest into it as well. Now for the main 2 attentions, of course, highlight you definitely want to get up because the highlight is always going to be helpful. This one actually increases your chances to increase the counter attack being Dragon Dance, which is going to be helpful for 3 whole turns. But the reason why this third skill is so good is because the third skill is your enhanced armament, pretty much. But like a lot of my SAO people are gonna love that. But the third skill is your enhanced armament, and this allows you to deal Dragon's Dance, but now it's changed to Dragon's Roar. This pretty much means you're getting a AoE counter guaranteed, and in this time that you have it activated, you are increasing your multiplier by 58.6%. Of course, this is going to be very helpful for a lot of you guys here, though if the off chance that the enemy does not attack you, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it automatically triggers, and you're actually gaining a shield by 19.5% of at least for 2 whole turns. So you guys do want to, of course, get this on. This is going to be the main deal with Yusuke. Once you pop off that skill 3, you're going to actually have some nice damage going on. The only other thing that happens here is also your weaknesses that are now turned to neutral. So you technically have a lot of security when you use this skill 3. But the only downside is, hey, you better have a lot of HP or at least a lot of defensive capabilities on this guy, because with this skill comes down to, yeah, you do have at least immunity as well as your weakness is now neutral, but that taunt that you're gonna have is going to be for 2 whole turns. So you better get ready to be attacked. So surely do keep that in mind. Then we have the 2 actual passives here. One of them, when gaining a shield, increases his damage bonus, and this is up to 6 times. And the other one, when of course he gets a shield, increases his pin by 20%. Now this is only for 1 whole turn, but seeing that the whole team that you're going to actually have for this guy is going to be defense based and shield based, you're going to have this all the time, as long as you have the team absolutely constructed correctly. All right, so now that we've talked about the skills, immediately let's go ahead and dip straight into the weapon. Now the weapon itself, it really is not bad. The 4-star weapon is also really good too, but the only issue why I say a lot of people are going to want to go for the 5-star weapon rather than 4-star is because how the 4-star is organized does not assist him at all in his counter damage. His counter damage is going to be the main ordeal, and although the 4-star weapon does increase a little bit of that counter damage, it also contradicts itself, because the only amount of increasing that it actually gets off of this is going to be ice damage, which goes up to a whopping 14% when of course you have it duped out. And then also when you have the weapon fully duped out itself, it should go up to a 33% if I'm correct. Yeah, 34.5% ice damage here, or at least defense increase, which is actually pretty darn nice. But if we look at the 5-star weapon, this is more or less not only giving you more defense percentage at just a 0, but also increasing the overall counter damage, which is already really good just to have, immediately inflicting just that counter damage. This isn't like, okay, where every time we use a counter we increase our ice damage. No, this is directly going into our counter damage. So you surely do want to have this weapon here. And then the best thing that puts the icing on the cake for this weapon here is whenever we are shielded, we gain something called the Guardian Spirit, in which when we do have this as well, not only does it increase our counter damage, but it increases it by a decent bit. And actually, for the amount of Guardian Spirits that we have, once we do reach 6, we're then increasing our counter damage by an extra 30% for the rest of the battle. This is not something that you need to trigger any further. No, it is actually permanent and the best thing that comes down to his 5-star weapon. So a lot of you guys really want to go ahead and get this 5-star. The 4-star really isn't bad. You still will do some damage, seeing that in this game, surprisingly enough, 4 stars are actually very, very viable. But I would definitely say for Yusuke, seeing that in the future he does fizzle out a lot, you really want to have that 5-star weapon ready. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about at least the card set. This one is going to be the luxury and focus card set, which is really, really good. It's more or less helping out his actual ice damage that he has right then and there. Not only this, it does help out his counter damage, which is going to be overall skill damage, which I feel like a lot of you guys are going to want to have. Really, all you need to know about this guy is get him as much crit rate and defense as possible, and he will be the best thing on earth for you for quite some time. Though he will need at least a little bit of speed as well, because you want him to be first on the whole team, seeing that when he is first, he's able to proc off that lovely enhanced counter, being ready to actually have some nice damage when the enemy's turn is there. Not only that, it then allows you to buff him properly. So then if the enemy does attack you later on, you're not only having just counterattack on the ready, but you're then able to go ahead and deal as much damage as possible with that said counterattack once you debuff the enemy and buff yourself. But that's everything that you need to know about the man Yusuke himself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do smash that like button, which beforehand, consider subscribing if you are new. I do daily videos of P5X, and we're only going to do more, and we are going to be having a giveaway fairly soon. If me does remember it, I feel like I should be able to come out with it later on this afternoon. Though of course I don't end up remembering it here, we are definitely going to be doing it tomorrow morning. Kind of depends on when everything happens down with YouTube, because I do want to grant you guys anything that you really desire on this one here, because I won't lie, y'all have helped me quite a lot to at least reach my sub goals, and it's been absolutely amazing. I know there was 2 videos that had a bunch of bad apples that quite literally, I want to say, put me in a very negative headspace for quite a couple days here, but I'm back refreshed, and I know that we don't want, of course, some people to really influence my look on all of you guys here. So thank you for you guys who are all supporting me consecutively and actually supporting the videos. It really does mean a lot. Gotten a ton of nice comments for you all, and y'all have been even supporting me as much as possible in Discord. So I can't thank y'all more than enough. So the giveaway should be out very soon. Look forward to it, and peace out, you guys.